Welcome to the Scenario Podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something, well, frustratingly common. Brain fog. You know, that feeling where you're just mentally sluggish, maybe forgetful, you just can't quite focus.
Yeah,
The opposite of sharp.
exactly. It's that persistent mental cloudiness so many people experience. And, the sources we looked at are really clear. It's not a specific disease. It's more like a symptom, a signal, really, that something fundamental in your body isn't running quite right efficiently.
Right, like a check engine light, but for your brain. So
Yeah.
our mission today, looking at all this material, is to try and cut through that fog. We want to understand the real root causes, and importantly, look at the solutions people talk about, especially supplements, and figure out which ones actually have evidence behind them.
Yeah, the goal for you listening is to get some clarity, quickly, but also, thoroughly. The approach really has to be layered. First, you tackle the lifestyle foundations, things like stress, sleep, diet, fixing known deficiencies. Only after that can supplements really work effectively, like enhancers.
Okay, let's dig into that foundation first, because the sources hammer this home. You can't just pop a pill to fix bad habits, right? Looking at the data, what are maybe the top, say, 4 triggers, the big ones that really mess with mental sharpness?
Okay. The sources consistently point to 4 main culprits, and these aren't just vague feelings. They have biological mechanisms. First up is chronic stress. And this isn't just having a bad day. It's that constant drip, drip, drip of cortisol flooding your system. And that hormone, it directly interferes with your brain chemistry.
Okay, that sounds significant. Can we break that down a bit? High cortisol all the time. What's it actually doing to the brain's machinery?
Well, the main target seems to be the hippocampus. That's your crucial hub for learning, for memory formation. Sustained high cortisol is basically toxic to it. It stops new neural pathways from forming properly there. Essentially, it forces your brain into a kind of survival mode, right? Pulling resources away from the thinking, planning part of the prefrontal cortex, and starving it of what it needs for focus. The second big one, lack of sleep. Honestly, this is non-negotiable. Sleep is when your brain does its housekeeping. Specifically, there's this thing called the glymphatic system, and its job is to clear out metabolic waste, toxins that build up while you're awake, skimp on deep sleep, and you basically leave that gunk floating around clouding your thinking.
Which feels exactly like brain fog the next day.
Precisely. Third, there's poor diet. And this is more than just feeling hangry. A diet loaded with processed foods, refined sugars. It creates these wild swings in blood sugar. That constant up and down starves your brain of steady fuel, leads right to those afternoon crashes where your focus just vanishes. And number 4, which kind of leads us towards supplements, is nutrient deficiencies. This is a really direct link we can often correct. Things like missing essential B vitamins or maybe vitamin D, magnesium. These are all critical components like cofactors in key brain processes. Lack them, and you get cognitive decline, mental fatigue.
Okay, so those foundational things, sleep, stress management, a balanced diet, that's the absolute starting point, mandatory. But like you said, people are really interested in supplements now for clarity, for focus. Maybe they prefer them over, stronger medications.
Oh, absolutely. There's been a huge surge in interest. Supplements feel like a way to target very specific biological pathways or deficiencies. The promise is tempting, right? Fill a specific gap, get function back.
Yeah, but let's put that big caution sign up right here. Supplements aren't the main fix. They're an enhancement, yeah. They really depend on having that foundation sorted first.
Exactly right. The sources are super clear on how they work best. Supplements give you the biggest bang for your buck if you have a specific, verified nutritional gap. For instance, someone diagnosed with low B12. They'll likely see a big improvement. But someone with perfectly fine B12 levels taking the same pill probably won't notice much at all. They only work if there's a void to fill.
Perfect. Okay, so let's say we have identified a void, a specific nutritional need. How do we start filling it? Let's get into the details of maybe the core 4 supplements that sources really back up with evidence, starting with fats for brain structure.
Right, let's start with omega-3 fatty acids. Specifically, we're talking EPA and DHA. These are fundamental. Your brain is roughly 60% fat, and DHA in particular is critical for the actual structure of your neuron membranes.
Okay, and this is where it gets interesting mechanically. What does having that good structure do for someone feeling foggy?
It's really about communication speed. Think of flexible cell membranes, thanks to omega-3s, as enabling faster, smoother signals between neurons. Plus, they have strong anti-inflammatory effects. And we know that low-grade inflammation is often linked to that chronic brain fog feeling and cognitive decline over time.
And the practical stuff, what should people know?
Well, the benefits are pretty clear for memory support, learning, focus, even mood. Dosage varies, but a common target is around 1 to 3 grams of combined EPA and DHA daily. Depends a lot on your diet, like how much oily fish you eat. Side effects are usually mild, maybe a bit of a fishy aftertaste. Some people get mild digestive upset. Okay, moving on. Let's talk energy production. The B vitamins. We should really focus on B6, B9, which is folate, and B12. These are absolute workhorses for producing cellular energy.
Right, they seem to pop up everywhere. But how do they specifically fight that mental sluggishness, that fog?
They're critical cofactors, meaning they're essential helpers in creating and regulating neurotransmitters. Think serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, the chemicals for mood, focus, memory. If you're low on B vitamins, your body literally struggles to make enough of these messengers. And that leads directly to fatigue, poor memory, even mood problems.
And speaking of B vitamins, is there something practical people need to know about how they take them? Do they build up in your system?
That's a really good point and super important. Unlike vitamins like D or A, B vitamins are water soluble. What that means practically is your body doesn't store them well. You can't just load up once a week. You need consistent intake, either from good food sources or daily supplements, to keep those energy pathways running smoothly.
Ah, right. Good to know. Okay, next up.
Next is vitamin D, often called the sunshine vitamin, right? But its role goes way beyond bones. It's critical for brain function, too. Deficiency is incredibly common, especially in certain parts of the world, and it's strongly linked to symptoms we associate with brain fog, like low mood, poor concentration, fatigue.
Wow, so it sounds like it acts almost like a hormone in the brain, not just a simple nutrient.
It absolutely does. You find vitamin D receptors spread throughout brain tissue. It helps regulate things like immune function within the brain, mood pathways, cognitive performance. Low levels often just show up as that persistent, dragging fatigue and mental dulling. Correcting a real deficiency can make a huge difference in mood and focus for some people.
And the advice here has to be personal, right? You can't just recommend a standard dose off the shelf.
Precisely. Dosage is super individual. It depends massively on where you live, how much sun you get, your skin type, your lifestyle. The sources are really strong on this. The only reliable way to know if you need it and how much is a blood test. Get your levels checked. Otherwise, you're just guessing.
Okay, that makes sense. Our final core nutrient then is magnesium. We touched on it for stress, but what does it do directly inside the brain for clarity?
Magnesium is kind of a quiet giant. It's involved in over 300 different processes in the body. For the brain specifically, it's crucial for nerve signaling. It helps manage nerve excitability, modulates the stress response at a cellular level. When levels are low, you can actually see neurological symptoms, things like increased anxiety, confusion, irritability, all classic signs that overlap with brain fog.
And when we talk about getting it into the brain, the type of magnesium matters, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah. You want forms that are well absorbed. Magnesium glycinate is often recommended for general relaxation and stress support. But for targeting brain benefits specifically, the sources often mention magnesium L-threonate. There's some interesting research suggesting this particular form is better at crossing the blood-brain barrier, so potentially more effective for boosting cognitive function directly.
Good distinction. But the usual caution applies. Too much magnesium, regardless of the form, can lead to digestive issues like diarrhea. So start low, go slow. Okay, so we've covered the essentials, the building blocks, and fuel. Now let's shift gears slightly, moving from fixing deficiencies to maybe optimizing performance, talking about things like Ginkgo biloba and lion's mane mushroom.
Right, and this is where we need to be maybe a bit more critical with the evidence. Starting with Ginkgo biloba, it has a long history, centuries of traditional use. The modern idea is it works in two ways: boosting blood flow to the brain and acting as an antioxidant against damage.
But honestly, looking at the research for Ginkgo, it feels, well, less solid than for something like a B12 deficiency, right? Does the hype match the evidence?
The evidence is definitely mixed. Some studies show benefits, especially subjective reports on memory or focus, but many larger, well-controlled trials haven't found strong, consistent effects. It's more in the optimization category, maybe helpful for some, but not a guaranteed fix, like correcting a known deficiency.
Okay. Then there's the one getting a lot of buzz lately, lion's mane mushroom. This seems to be everywhere.
Yeah, this one's generated a lot of excitement. It's fascinating because early research, mostly lab studies and some animal models, suggests it might stimulate the production of something called nerve growth factor, or NGF. And NGF is a protein that's vital for the survival, maintenance, and even regeneration of your neurons.
So the potential link is by protecting or even helping repair nerve pathways, it could tackle some underlying causes of that foggy feeling.
That's the theory, exactly. It could potentially reduce symptoms by actively supporting nerve health. It's a really promising area of research, no doubt, especially looking at certain models of cognitive decline. But we have to be realistic. It's still early days for large-scale, long-term human studies confirming it works broadly for general brain fog. Promising, but needs more time.
Right. So bringing this all together for someone listening who's maybe thinking about trying supplements, we absolutely need to talk about safety, quality, and how to approach this practically.
Yes, this might be the most crucial part. How do you navigate this? Because the market isn't tightly regulated. First thing, quality control. This is paramount. Supplements aren't regulated like drugs. You have to choose reputable brands. Look for seals from third-party testing organizations like NSF International or USP. That verification gives you some confidence that the bottle actually contains what the label says and isn't full of contaminants.
And second, let's loop back to personalization. This seems key to not wasting money or taking things you don't need.
Absolutely essential. Before you start buying bottles, some self-assessment of your diet and lifestyle is good. Even better, talk to a healthcare provider. Maybe get some blood work done to identify specific deficiencies. Like we said, taking expensive vitamin D when your levels are already optimal, it's just not going to do much. Target the actual gaps. And third, manage your expectations about the time frame. These aren't stimulants like caffeine. They work slowly, regulating systems over time. You won't take a pill and feel sharp an hour later. Expect to commit for several weeks, maybe even a couple of months, to really see if there's a noticeable, lasting change in persistent fog. Consistency is key.
And we have to repeat the big picture caution. Supplements work best when they're correcting something specific that's missing. You really shouldn't expect dramatic results if you haven't addressed the foundational lifestyle stuff: sleep, stress, diet. They support the main effort. They aren't the main effort itself.
So, to wrap it up, brain fog is definitely something you can tackle, but it requires a combined approach, kind of layers. First, you absolutely have to manage the big drivers: chronic stress, poor sleep patterns, a diet that's not fueling you well. Then you can strategically use high-quality, targeted supplements to fill known nutrient gaps, things like omega-3s, B vitamins, magnesium, which directly support how your brain functions.
Okay, that leads perfectly into a final thought I was having, something for you to ponder. We talked about magnesium being involved in regulating both sleep and the stress response, right? And we know poor sleep and high stress are maybe the two biggest drivers of brain fog. So could it be that addressing potential magnesium deficiency might actually be the single most powerful starting point for clearing brain fog? Maybe even before fully optimizing everything else in the diet. It's just a thought, but compelling. Might be worth considering your own magnesium status if you constantly feel cloudy. And that's all the time we have for this deep dive. We really hope you walk away feeling a bit clearer, more focused, and ready to tackle any fog you might be experiencing. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scenario Podcast. Don't forget to visit scenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.